And now it's time for Through the Eyes of Dr. Mittleman, brought to you by Mittleman Eye, with 2 locations, West Palm Beach and Jupiter. And now here are your hosts, Jill Schweitzer and Dr. David Mittleman.
All right, I'm here with Dr. Mittleman of Mittleman Eye, Through the Eyes, and just fascinating your travels, your stories, your love of the arts. And today I want to talk about not only how all of these interests of yours and these adventures of yours help to make your practice so very successful, but also I'm excited about this episode because it's music. And of course, music has been my life, my passion, my joy. And so let's get started, Dr. Mittleman.
Thanks for having me again, Jill.
So let's see. Let's talk your favorite music right out of the bat.
So favorite music is a difficult topic. It really depends on your mood. And as we all know, music can bring back memories. It can help enhance a mood. It can change your mood. So it really depends on what I feel. My first music that I was exposed to was Broadway music. My dad loved Broadway music. He had an old-fashioned long-playing record player. It was wonderful. It was a great sound. He and I used to sit downstairs in our den listening to it. And he played Broadway and he played classical. I couldn't for the life of me understand why he liked classical music. I thought it was the most boring thing in the world. I did love the Broadway music. When I got to college, however, I couldn't study to most music with words. There was one which we can talk about. And I did discover classical music. Not my father's classical music. I'm really not a fan of early classical music. But late 18th century, early 19th century classical music is really where I go to. My favorite being Shostakovich, Dmitri Shostakovich. He's a Russian composer. He sometimes has very loud, bombastic music, but much of it is very quiet and introspective. Some of the music tells an actual story. I can remember when I was in college in New Haven at Yale, I found out that his 14th symphony was going to be played at Carnegie Hall. I actually finished all my papers 2 days early, which was very difficult. Took a 2-hour train to get to Carnegie Hall and sat in the second to last row. And for those listeners who haven't been in Carnegie Hall, the second to last row in the upper balcony is terrifying. The balcony is pitched so steeply that if you don't hold on to the handrail, it feels like you are going to fall off of the face of the earth. This is before Carnegie Hall was renovated, and when the symphony starts, you felt it in your bones. And this symphony is very special. It's very quiet, and it's set to various poems in different languages. And the poems are all topics about love, about despair, and there's one about suicide, which is not what you would think you'd listen to in music. But they had a soprano and a baritone singing this from Russia, and they sang it with such passion, and it was in French, so I understood the words, that I would listen to that symphony anywhere I could, and I would go to the ends of the earth to hear it played.
Wow. So I have to ask you, do you listen to music when you are performing surgery at Mittleman Eye?
So that's a great question, and I do. There are many eye doctors who operate in the dark with no talking and no music. I have an allergy to quietness. I try not to be as loud as I am sometimes. I love music. And so when I was younger, I had various tapes that I had made myself back in the cassette era. And I listened to certain music that calmed me, that made me feel comfortable. Now I listen to almost any music in the OR. My preference in the OR is classic rock, and in one of my 2 ORs, we do have our own ORs at Mittleman Eye. They play classic rock for me. In the other OR, the circulator chooses the music, and he's actually very good. Some of it's classic rock, Some of it is newer music that goes along with the vibe and the feel of classic rock. I have been known to sing along loudly when I'm operating. Patients have told me that I shouldn't be singing, but they're very glad I did their surgery. Other people have said my singing calms them down, and I think to myself, you don't get out very much, do you? And sometimes, actually, if it's someone's birthday, at the end of the case, I will enlist the patient to sing happy birthday to one of my employees who's in the room. We do have a good time with music. I also will ask patients, is there something in particular you want to listen to? And if they do, we put it on. And we put it on loud. I love the sound of music in my life.
I think it makes everything better. I really do. So you talked about classical music. I know that Broadway music is a great passion of yours. You're about to go and see some shows in New York. And by the way, I just read that one of the shows that I think you've gone to see is closing. What was what we talked music before, and it's just, do you know what I'm talking about?
I do, and it's very sad because I'm not going to get to see it.
Oh.
The musical Beaches.
That's it. That was the one.
Just opened, and it's closing on Sunday.
Oh.
So you can look at this in two ways. You can look at it as, one, I'm saved from a bomb of a musical. I get my money back, and I don't have to suffer through it. But there are very few plays and musicals that are really that bad, and it is unfortunate that I won't get to see it. One play that does come to mind was a play done by the same woman that did The Lion King. It was her follow-up, and it was a half-puppet, half-live story set to a 16th or 17th century Renaissance play. I fell asleep.
Oh, dear.
I couldn't understand any of it. It was the only play I have ever walked out of.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I know you've got some favorite Broadway stars, Broadway babies. Who are some of those that you would, like you said, take 5 trains and travel forever to see?
So one of my favorites is Patti LuPone. Patti LuPone is sometimes a controversial singer. She's a New Yorker. She is loud. She is out there, and I just love Patti LuPone. She's extraordinarily temperamental. She has been known to stop a performance if someone is taking her picture or filming her, and then she'll come into the audience, grab the cell phone, and confiscate it, and it's been said that she won't give it back. So Patti came to fame during Evita. I was a freshman in college, and I got the soundtrack. And again, I was at Yale in New Haven, which is only about an hour and a half to 2 hours from Broadway. And I said, I have to see this play, this musical. I would dance around to the music. I would study to the music. It made me happy. Brings up all kinds of wonderful emotions. Not only did I love the musical, but I thought Patti LuPone she embodied Eva Peron. And so I wrote to Patti, and I said, I'm 19 years old. I love your play. I think you're wonderful. I'd love to meet you. And she sent back a note that said, on the day you're coming, please come and visit me backstage. So it was about 3 or 4 weeks from then. I sat on the beach and got really tan. I went out and bought a new suit. It was a dark blue suit. And I went to Broadway, and I brought a single rose. And at the end of the show, I went to the stage door, knocked on the door, knock, knock, knock. And they said, who are you? And I was just a little snot-nosed kid who was over tan in a suit that probably didn't fit very well. And I said, I have this note from Ms. LuPone. And they said, oh, yes, come back. She's expecting you. And I went in her dressing room as she took her makeup off, and she talked about the play, and she talked about Broadway. And I gave her the rose, and she gave me a huge kiss. And I have been smitten ever since.
I can imagine. Now, number one, I'm discovering that you are a big romantic, Dr. Mittleman. That is so sweet.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. That's a beautiful story. You have more favorites in the Broadway world.
So I love Audra McDonald. There are a very large crop of great singers. Idina Menzel, Kelly O'Hara, Kristen Chenoweth. It is a pleasure to see any of them. But when Audra McDonald sings, when she talks, when she whispers, it is so melodic that you can't help but smile, be engaged, and watch her with rapture because her voice is transcendent. It pulls you in, and no matter what she's singing, you get a happy feeling deep inside. It's wonderful. And when she acts, even just acting in a play, not a musical, her words come out lyrically. It is really something to behold and to hear and to see.
You know, just quickly, I've been growing up here in South Florida, didn't have the experiences you did of, going to Broadway, but I did get to see some of these Tony Award winners later in life who would come to this area. And I remember thinking, I get it now. This is why they won the Tony, because it's like a different, they breathe different air. It's a different type of experience, like what you're describing with Audra McDonald, where it hits you so differently, and it is just overwhelming, the feelings that come up when you see these particular artists that you're like Audra McDonald.
And I think that's why it's important to have music in the operating room, and why I will ask patients if they want to hear something in particular, because music can put you in a certain mood. It can relax you, it can anger you, it can make you feel happy. And so there are very few types of music I'll veto in the OR. Heavy metal and rap are not allowed in the OR because I don't think they're conducive to my happiness. Patients will often say, well, what do you want to listen to? And there are things that I like to listen to more than others, but I really want the patient to be happy. And if there is something for the patient, we play it at the volume they want, we play the songs they want. That's the beauty of having your own operating rooms. You can do that for patients.
Yeah, and you've got those 2 operating rooms, and it's wonderful. I've heard from so many listeners, and just, friends will say, oh, yeah, the one listener, she had one eye done in New Jersey, one eye, and then their snowbird, she came down here and she had her other eye done with you. And she said, Jill, it was like night and day. She said, I can't even compare the 2 experiences. Mittleman Eye was just from start to finish amazing.
It is, when we operate, it is a spa-like experience. You get some Valium, which I've never had. Someday I'll have my cataracts out and I'll experience that. We have nice, quiet music. We have some videos playing in the pre-op area, and it's a small pre-op area because it's just my patients. There really is personal TLC attention. When I hire employees, I hire them for 2 reasons. One, their ability, because you have to be able to do your job properly. We're talking about people's vision for a lifetime, but also their ability to be empathetic, to relate to patients, and in the operating room, that is paramount. And so when the employees interact with patients, they feel like they're at home, someone cares about them, because they're not getting stuck with an IV. It's not a scary, scary episode in their lives.
Yeah. We've talked about this, and I want to actually do a whole episode on this because you've talked about the environment in your practice, the way that you conduct your business. It's actually beautiful, incredible business model, but business isn't even the word, like human model. And I want to do a whole other episode on that. What are some of the other, like some of the artists we play here on Legends Radio in the jazz category? Who are your favorites?
So you can't think about jazz without thinking about Ella Fitzgerald or Dinah Washington or Billie Holiday. But my favorite is Sarah Vaughan. I love Sarah Vaughan. I've loved her ever since I first heard her. The Velvet Fog, I think, is Mel Torme.
Exactly.
She's got another nickname.
She's sassy.
Yeah. And she has an incredible range. I think it's 4 octaves, or maybe if she had 5 octaves. And she can go from the highest note to the lowest note. She scats a little differently than Ella Fitzgerald, but I find it a little more whimsical. Ella is more formal. Sarah Vaughan is whimsical, and she sings all different kinds of music. And so before she passed away, she was playing in Washington, D.C., at a live concert outdoors. And I got myself from New Haven down to Washington, D.C., so I could experience Sarah Vaughan in person. And she is as powerful and was as powerful in person as she is on her records. She just captures you. And the voice, when she just goes from the highest C to the lowest C, just pulls you in, and you stare at her and think, how is any one voice doing this? But it's done with such agility and ease and just soothingness to the ear. She's spectacular. And she, again, could sing anything in the jazz repertoire. And so if you all don't know Sarah Vaughan or aren't familiar with her, I highly recommend it. She's got a live album with Michael Tilson Thomas directing, and it's a great introduction to her music and her style.
Well, you're preaching to the choir right now, because we play Sarah Vaughan on Legends Radio, and our listeners, of course, are, they're connoisseurs of music like yourself. So it's wonderful that we get to hear this incredible. I have to ask you, what was her patter like in concert? Was she one to speak? Was she one to engage? Or did she just let her music speak?
No, she was very engaging. She would speak to the audience, and there were times I thought, she's like me. She's speaking too much. I want to hear her sing. She's a wonderful person, and you can tell that she really loved what she did. She loved her audience, and she related to her audience. It's like Roberta Flack, another artist that I love in sort of the soul jazz. I met her once, and she was engaging, and she was pleasant and warm and friendly, and didn't act as if she wanted to get away from this young, adoring fan. And her music also speaks, at least to me. And that's what's important, I think, when you listen to music. You have to find music that actually moves you in some way, that speaks to you, that can help you think, that can help you understand your emotions. And everybody is going to find a different genre and a different artist, which is why when you do best 100 lists, they're always so different.
Yes. I was just thinking, like with an eye doctor or with any profession, a vocalist, what I've seen is that there's a lot of great ones, but the ones that have this impact, this longevity, this success, are the ones who are people. They're people persons, however you want to say it. And I feel with you that is obviously you have this heart that is instantly connecting with whoever you're speaking with. And that is no small thing. And I've seen that with recording artists as well. On record, oh my gosh, this artist is amazing. Why aren't they as big as, say, another artist? And then you meet them. As they say, never meet your heroes. Sometimes it can be very disappointing because they're not people. They don't want to engage on that level. They want to just perform. And so, you made the point with Patti LuPone and Roberta Flack. You met Roberta Flack?
I met Roberta Flack as well.
And so I think those are those moments that really, they get you this loyalty. And that's what you have, Dr. Mittleman. I don't say that to, lightly. It's what I felt the first time we spoke. And I get that with people I've spoken to who have gone to you for their surgery.
So it's something that I tell patients all the time. Not just about me or Mittleman Eye, about all of their doctors. The first thing you want as a doctor is a quality where he knows or she knows what they're doing. how to treat you. But it's very important to like your doctor. And not everybody likes every doctor. Not everybody likes me. Not everybody likes my other doctors. You need to have confidence in your doctor, feel that your doctor is listening to you, and not everybody clicks. But that's so important for healing, is to have the confidence that your doctor not only can do what he or she wants to do to you or how they want to help you, but that they understand what you're going through. That's very important.
Yeah. You also are a big fan of singer-songwriters.
So I'm a child of the 70s, and there are so many singer-songwriters, people that wrote their own music and then sang their own music, some with better voices than others, some with better lyrical skills than others in writing. So, for instance, I think Neil Young is a brilliant songwriter, odd voice. I love Carole King, has an interesting voice. One of my favorites, and who I grew up with, is Carly Simon. Carly Simon is not well known to the youngsters today, and that's unfortunate. She really was a forerunner for Adele and Taylor Swift. She wrote songs that told a story. And as it turns out, many of her stories were stories that I could relate to. And they were happy stories, they were sad stories, they were stories of love, stories of heartbreak. And she borrowed from different musical genres so that many of her songs are quite different. You can't pigeonhole a particular style other than that you know it's Carly Simon. She doesn't use much vibrato. She's not what you would consider a wonderful singer in terms of the quality, but the way she sings a song, the way she puts it over, the heartfelt lyrics that she writes are stupendous. And I used to study to Carly Simon. As I said, I couldn't necessarily study to songs or music with lyrics, but I could to Carly Simon. So I had an hour and a half tape that I had made, and I would study to that. And when I got to an exam, either in college or medical school, if I couldn't think of an answer, I would play the song that she was singing while I was studying that part of the book, and voila, there was the answer that came along with the music.
That is brilliant. That is very, very interesting how that triggers, the part of the brain to say, oh, there it is. There it is.
You're right. And it's not just emotions. It's memories, and it's things that you've studied. And I just love her. She has many albums. And if there are any young listeners who don't know Carly Simon, go and find her. Another person who's underappreciated these days is Janis Ian. Janis Ian also wrote her own music, and her first hit song was Society's Child, which is a brilliant song. Although it was in the top of the charts, it wasn't really a chart-topping song in terms of its construction. But the topic was about racism, and it's a brilliant song that exposed part of the dark underbelly of the times and really galvanized people to understand what other people were going through. And she had songs like At 17, which talk about a person who's not so well off, not so pretty in high school, which many people in high school can relate to. And she has a song, for instance, In the Winter, which talks about somebody being left by their partner and how it is to be alone. A lot of brilliant songs, and they speak to people. And I find that a bit lacking today. I love songs that make you think, that make you feel. It's the same thing that I look for in a Broadway play.
What's interesting is so many of these incredible artists like Carly Simon, Roberta Flack, have come eventually to the Great American Songbook that we play here on Legends. We play Carly Simon's. She made an album of Great American Songbook, and we play it here on Legends Radio. And she, again, just as you described, she's got such a recognizable voice. You know it's her immediately. And does she have just, vocal gymnastics and range galore? No, but she delivers it so beautifully and makes you hear a song you've heard covered many times in a different way. And that's just to give the Great American Songbook a little plug, because it's meaty. It's got such depth, and a lot of these great artists want to dig their teeth in.
So that's an interesting point, and many artists from the 70s and 80s have done things with the Great American Songbook. So Carly Simon she has a great album of film noir songs, a great album of torch songs. Someone from that era who's not a singer-songwriter but was spectacular is Linda Ronstadt.
Yes.
And she made 3 albums with Nelson Riddle, and one is better than the other. She also has an album or several albums of Spanish songs from her heritage. She has albums of Broadway songs. I saw Linda, as if we're friends. I've never met Linda Ronstadt, but I saw her on Broadway in Pirates of Penzance. And even though she didn't have a leading role, she stole the show. She's really was a spectacular singer in all genres.
Yeah. Now that's somebody who does have all the goods and all the gorgeous tone. And I think her rendition of When You Wish Upon a Star, for whatever reason, is just my favorite. The way her treatment, the Nelson Riddle arrangement. So here's the deal. You are an incredible eye doctor. You've created this incredible practice here in Palm Beach County, Mittleman Eye, which we are all so blessed to have here. We appreciate you so much here at Legends Radio for all that you do. And I can't wait until our next episode. What are we going to talk about? We've talked music today, and there's just so many adventures yet that and foods and things that you've done in your life that I can't wait to hear about.
Well, thank you again for having me, Jill. And this is really fun for me. It makes me reminisce and think about things that I've done. But also, how can I interact with my patients all the time to make their lives better and to keep a smile on my face? That's what it's all about.
Well, we're going to be back next Saturday, 8 a.m. Be sure to tune in Through the Eyes of Dr. Mittleman.
Thank you very much, Jill.
Thank you for listening to Through the Eyes of Dr. Mittleman here on Legends Radio. You can tune in every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. for another edition, brought to you by Mittleman Eye, 561-500-2020 or mittlemaneye.com.